Monastics and mystics. What is this? Seems so dark, seems so cryptic. Who could opine upon this without first defining this? But still, what is it? A life of devotion, alone in deserts, or in castles high above the ocean. John the Baptist, alone in the wilderness. Long-lasting hunger, fasting, my brother, my sister, my friend to no end, one who is alone in isolation, constant communication with God.
Hey kids, it's me, Mr. Kenton. I thought we'd learn some new vocabulary words today. Sounds a lot like school. Huh? Well, guess what? It is. It's very important that we bring an attitude and a desire to learn to church, just like we do for school, whether school's in the classroom or on Zoom, right? Right. Okay, let's continue. So when we think about church or when we think about school, we think about our teachers. The teachers are like our guides or our leaders, right? Well, at church, that's the role of the pastor. Do you know who the pastors are at our church? Reverend Trudy, Reverend Jessica, Reverend Tamara, and Reverend Hannah. Did you get all those names right? So on most Sunday mornings, our teacher is Reverend Trudy. She's new. A few Sundays ago, you may have seen and heard Reverend Hannah leading the church with her sermon, her first sermon here in Mission Valley. She's new. Anyways, sometimes at church, grown-ups like to use big words when they deliver their sermon, or their lecture, or their lesson, or their message for the day. You know, the part where they talk and talk and talk. Oh, and they share stories about Jesus, and they keep talking. And sometimes little kids get bored. Sometimes old kids get bored. Last week, today, and over the course of the next few weeks, you're going to hear Reverend Trudy use two fancy-sounding words. And those words are monastics and mystics. The word monastic comes from the same root word as the word monk, coming from Greek monastikos to Latin monasticus to English monastics. Did you know that the word monja means nun in Spanish?
A monastic could be someone who hears God call them to a life where they, in a sense, ditch the person they grew up as, and wholeheartedly trusting God to lead them to a life of mostly solitude, being alone. Yet at the same time, on a journey, sometimes a physical journey, but always a spiritual journey. As an artist may look inside of themselves to create their beautiful painting, sculpture, song, or poems, a monastic turns to God to be recreated. They live a life in constant prayer. Not prayer like we know prayer, but an older type of prayer, contemplation. Not just saying a prayer to God, but monastics may get to a point where everything that they do is connected constantly in love to God, recognizing God's presence everywhere and in everything. A mystic, on the other hand, one may see as people who are not stuck in any kind of box or a strict way of thinking about how they understand God. Many times, they're the creative folks, the ones who may be seen as pushing the limits of what the imagination can do, and in so doing are acknowledging and lifting up their transformation as a way to honor God, to give thanks for God's work in their life. Mystics, like monastics, may go away like monastics to a special place, a desert, a mountain, often somewhere far away from home, but temporarily, or just for a short period of time, not for a long, long time. But while they're away, they may have a radical, forever-changing experience or contact with the divine, an experience with the great mystery of God. There's that word mystery again, coming from the Greek word mystikos, mystique in French, mystic in English. Mystics are in constant search for the divine connection or union to be reached, and they want to share those experiences with others. Mystics want to share their experience with others so that they too might experience that same type of experience that is beyond human understanding.
And here's the important part. A mystic actually experiences the mystery of God. As you're copying this from the board, keep in mind that word mystery. The same root also comes from a word we have in French, mystique. Ooh, mystique. So consider those things as you're looking at the board. Mystics are in constant search for a divine connection, a connection to the heavens. Not the earth, but something bigger than us. Also, mystics want to share that experience with others so that they too may recognize when they have a mystical type experience.
Here at this church, about 8 years ago, a very kind woman named Dolores introduced me to the teachings of a man named Thomas Merton. She and I also connected very well on a deep appreciation for the spirituality and the soulful sounds of John Coltrane's saxophone. Also at this church, not too far from this same very room, I began to learn about a man named Richard Rohr. Maybe you and your family can find time to research these two spiritual guides and learn more about their teachings. Reverend Jessica has shared in her sermons lately different ways to pray, to be closer connected to God. Contemplation, meditation, visions. I don't believe that these words should alarm us or concern us. Perhaps in this new way of living, often alone in our own homes, or maybe on quiet walks with the family, we might allow ourselves to be okay in the silence, and to be silent amongst the busy and the many teachings of mystics, monastics, reverends, rabbis, imams. Let these words encourage us to be closer to God, through all that is around us, through all the quiet moments alone. May we renew our minds as God calls us to do. May we trust our faith in God's presence around us, through music, through words, through breezes, through stillness, just being with God.